We thought we had won the war on infectious disease in the 20th century, and indeed for a time we seem to have been doing reasonably well. However, in the last few decades and well into this 21st century, the tide of infectious disease is rising again. In this presentation, we're going to take a look at some of the lifestyle strategies and natural remedies that we can use to boost our immune system and fight infections. In medical terms, we are moving from the age of chronic disease, which includes dementia, heart disease, cancer, diabetes, arthritis, and respiratory disease, which we know are largely due to our lifestyle choices, to the age of infectious disease. That does not mean we've won the war on chronic disease at all, but the two are now running concurrently. What it does mean is that infectious diseases are starting to take center stage again, but prevention and treatment options are very tenuous at best. Let's take a closer look at this age of infectious disease. Currently, infectious diseases are now the #1 killer of children worldwide. Previously unheard of infections are appearing more rapidly than any time in history. Never have so many new diseases appeared in so short a period of time, and the trend is continuing. It has prompted the medical historians to dub this as the era of emerging plagues. Examples, of course, include the emergence of HIV, MERS, SARS, including COVID-19, Lyme disease, hantavirus, dengue fever, Ebola, and Zika virus, just to name a few. We are also seeing the re-emergence of diseases that we thought we had practically eradicated. Diseases such as tuberculosis, cholera, and whooping cough are increasing again. And of course, we have an increasing number of superbugs, infections that have become resistant to many or all of our antibiotics. There are a number of reasons why we are now seeing this phenomenon. We now have cheaper and faster national and international travel and trade. And this modern transportation or globalization is moving animals, humans, commodities, and all the pathogenic bugs around the world. The movement of people and goods is happening at a faster rate and greater volume than at any time in history. Every country on this planet is becoming more and more urbanized. More than 1 billion people live in slums worldwide. As the global population increases, the cities are becoming more and more crowded as people are more likely to move into densely populated environments. Currently, more than half of the world's population are city dwellers, 4.4 billion, or nearly 3 out of 5 people, with that number expected to double in the next 20 to 30 years. 100 years ago, 1 in 5 were city dwellers. Slums and high-density cities are perfect breeding grounds for infectious diseases and make it a lot more easy for the pathogens to spread quickly. Poverty remains pervasive throughout the world. Here are some current figures. The richest 1% own half the world's wealth. Just the top 81 billionaires have more wealth than 50% of the world combined. Interestingly, through the pandemic, 2/3 of the wealth gained were funneled straight into that top 1% of the world's richest, so the disparity is growing between the rich and the poor. The poorest half of the world only own less than 0.75% of the world's wealth. Nearly 10% of the world live in extreme and desperate poverty. But even in the developed world, more than 25% are struggling to make ends meet. Impoverished people tend to have poorer nutrition, access to medical care, shelter, and adequate hygiene, and a host of other things that make it also more likely for an uncontrolled outbreak of infectious disease to occur. Worldwide, agricultural industries have responded to the huge consumer pressure for lots of meat, dairy, and eggs. There is mass crowding, stressed and immune deficient animals often filled with growth-promoting antibiotics and fed all sorts of waste products. More than 2/3 of the 70 billion animals slaughtered each year are farmed in factories with the most deplorable conditions of mass crowding, poor hygiene, and cruel treatment of the animals. These have become an absolute reservoir for viruses and other pathogens to breed and rapidly mutate before passing on to humans. Bearing in mind, most, if not all, distinctive infectious diseases of civilization have been transferred to humans from animals. All the experts are predicting that this will be the most likely cause of a devastating pandemic at some point in the very near future. Closely linked to these agricultural industries is mass deforestation. In addition to the devastating effects that this brings to nature, it also brings us and farm animals into close contact with displaced wildlife and the pathogens that they carry that lead to deadly diseases in humans and animals. Finally, although not often recognized, chronic diseases frequently found in large portions of the Western world mean that the immune systems of many of these individuals is suboptimal and make them much more prone to becoming ill and spreading the infectious disease. We have all just experienced the difficulties and challenges, not just with health, but also economically and socially with the current pandemic. The questions that are being asked is, will this happen again? And if so, will it be more deadly? The prediction of experts from many areas are that we are on the brink of a much more catastrophic infectious disease pandemic, most likely a very nasty form of influenza. We have all heard of plagues of biblical proportions, but students of the Bible are very aware of some prophecies from the book that give us some insight into what is happening. In the book of Luke, we find this amazing prophetic look at what this planet Earth will be experiencing in the time before the return of Jesus. Luke chapter 21, verses 10 and 11. Jesus was asked what signs we should look to herald that his second coming was near. Jesus replied to the question with this prophecy: "Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there will be great earthquakes in various places, and famines and pestilences. And there will be fearful sights and great signs from heaven." All of these things are happening before our eyes. But in the midst of this prediction is the word pestilence, another word for infectious disease. Therefore, we can expect that infectious disease will be a concern at this time in history. If another pandemic is a real possibility, then the next question is, what can you do? The answer is first and foremost, build your immune system. If your body is in a prime state without inflammation and oxidative stress, your immune system will be able to fight and win a war against most diseases that attack your immune system and many different kinds of infections. We are going to look into this and discover the many simple ways we can maximize your immune health. The second important point is don't be alarmed, but stay prepared. Always the best place to begin, let's take a look at all the lifestyle measures that we can address in this immune boosting journey. We will start with the most difficult lifestyle measure, exercise. Research tells us that you can halve your risk of developing colds and flus by doing regular moderate exercise. Exercise has been shown to really impact the oxidative stress in your body and boost many of the innate immunity factors, making it 5 times stronger for fighting infections. It also improves your ability to sleep and lowers stress and anxiety levels, which are also implicated in immune function. How much exercise is enough? Half an hour a day of something that will make you huff and puff. A brisk walk is often enough. You might like to try walking in the bush. There is a fancy term they are giving to this, forest bathing, but Australians have been enjoying bushwalking forever, so we'll stick with the Aussie terminology. Research has shown that walking in a forest with trees that release aromatic compounds can boost a variety of immune factors. This effect can be seen amongst eucalyptus trees, cypress, pine, or fir trees, and it only has to be once a week for long-lasting benefits. Diffusing some of these essential oils, such as eucalyptus oil, at home is also helpful in boosting immunity, but it's not as good at reducing stress levels as the walk in the forest of trees. The best diet for immunity is the whole food plant-based diet. Research has shown that just increasing fruit and vegetable intake alone has significant beneficial effects on the immune system. All fruits, vegetables, legumes, nuts, and whole grains in their freshest and least processed forms are rich in anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, antiviral, and immune-boosting nutrients. There is also a strong link between low-fat diets and enhanced immune response, remembering that the whole food plant-based diet is naturally low in fat. Conversely, diets high in animal products, saturated fats, and processed foods tend to be pro-inflammatory and depress the immune system. There are some really amazing and helpful nutrients that we can find in this whole food plant-based diet that are particularly useful to the immune system. So let's take a look at some of these. Vitamin C. This essential vitamin is a powerful antioxidant and well known for supporting immunity. It plays significant roles in both preventing and treating many respiratory tract infections such as colds and flus. The recommended daily intake is about 1 to 200 milligrams per day for adults, and as you cannot store this vitamin, we do need a regular intake for our health. There's no consensus on supplementation, but 1 to 3,000 milligrams for most adults to help prevent and fight infection should be more than adequate. Some fantastic sources of vitamin C naturally include the Kakadu plum, a Aussie's superfood with 10 times more vitamin C than an orange, guavas, sweet yellow peppers, all of your citrus fruits, black currants, strawberries, and leafy greens. N-acetylcysteine, or NAC. This antioxidant compound shows some very powerful benefits with regard to influenza, the normal flu. Although it doesn't prevent you from getting the infection, the research shows that only 25% of those infected with the virus develop symptoms if they were taking NAC. That is compared to nearly 80% of those who develop symptoms when not taking NAC. So clearly it has some antiviral significance. Its natural form is cysteine, which is found in legumes and sunflower seeds, and the recommended dosage of the supplement form is 600 milligrams twice a day during the winter season. Just a caution, if you are a highly allergenic person, taking NAC may exacerbate your allergies. And also be cautious if you have stomach ulcers with this supplement. Zinc plays a really important role in our immune defense. High levels of zinc inside our cells cause a decrease in the replication mechanisms of RNA viruses. Healthy zinc-containing foods include whole grains such as oats, legumes and beans, cashews and almonds. Be careful with supplementation. You would not want to take more than 40 milligrams daily on a long-term basis, as it can interfere with the absorption of other essential elements such as copper. It's probably best to only use this supplement at times of higher risk of exposure to viruses. When you are symptomatic with viral symptoms, you can increase the zinc dose up to 200 milligrams daily just for a short period. Quercetin is a wonderful compound found naturally in red onions, carob, cranberries, red delicious apples, watercress, and asparagus, for example. It has been implicated to have a plethora of benefits, including antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, anti-cancer, and antiviral properties, amongst other benefits. With regards to its benefit as an antiviral, we know that it works as a zinc ionophore. It chelates or binds the zinc and causes an inrush of the zinc into the cell where it can carry out its antiviral actions. If you were to supplement, The dosing is 500 milligrams twice a day. Selenium plays a key role in strengthening immunity as well. It reduces the oxidative stress and prevents viral infections. It is found naturally and in high doses in Brazil nuts. Just 2 to 4 nuts per day would be more than sufficient. Magnesium has multiple immune supportive roles, and it also helps to reduce susceptibility to viral infections. Natural sources of magnesium include your leafy greens, nuts, seeds, legumes, and whole grains. Keeping a close eye on your weight and managing this is very important. Exercise and diet are the key factors for this. Being overweight and obese has a significant adverse effect on the functioning of the immune system, and it causes a state of chronic low-grade inflammation. So being a healthy weight reduces inflammation, significantly improves the function of many aspects of the immune system, which leads to fewer infections and less severe symptoms when you do become ill. Successfully managing your weight reduces your risk and helps a number of chronic diseases, including hypertension, diabetes, heart disease, and kidney disease, all of which have been associated with higher severity of disease and death rates with many infections, including influenza and COVID-19. So we have looked at the important measures to include in our everyday lives, but there is a couple of things we need to avoid: alcohol and smoking. Drinking alcohol every day or most days really suppresses and weakens your immune system. Those who consume alcohol are much more likely to catch colds, flus, or other viral or bacterial illnesses than those who don't drink. And the symptoms of the infections also last longer and are more severe and intense when you are a drinker. We all know that smoking causes severe lung damage, heart disease, and cancers, but it also has a profoundly bad effect on the immune system. There are so many immune-suppressing chemicals, including nicotine, found in cigarettes. All of these cause smokers to be far more susceptible to both infections and autoimmune disease. In the event that you get an infection, fever is your friend. Fever is there to enhance your innate immunity and mobilize many factors in your immune system to fight the infection effectively. Elevated body temperatures have been shown to directly inhibit viral replication, particularly the influenza viruses. The thermal effect of a fever on the body is associated with better survival rates and shorter duration of the disease caused by the infection. Generally speaking, there is no need to resort to paracetamol or ibuprofen unless the temperature is reaching 40 degrees Celsius or there is significant pain that is stopping you from getting adequate rest. When it comes to drinking water, 8 glasses a day are recommended. Research has shown that those who only drink 2 to 3 glasses of water increase their chances of getting a flu, a stuffy nose, or a sore throat by up to 4 to 5 times. Clearly, viruses like dehydrated bodies, so stay well hydrated. A good night's sleep of 7 to 8 hours for most adults is really helpful. Studies have shown that individuals who've been inoculated in the nose with the common cold are less likely to develop symptoms if they have 7 or more hours sleep when compared to sleep-deprived individuals who've had less than 7 hours. The best hours are those before midnight, earlier in the night. This is when more slow-wave sleep is occurring with much more immune-enhancing benefits. Vitamin D plays a critical role in preventing respiratory tract infections, reducing antibiotic use, and enhancing the immune system response to infections. The best way to get your vitamin D is, of course, through sunlight. The next question is how much sunlight? As everyone has different skin color and thus different needs, the helpful rule of thumb is to go into the sun for about 1/4 of the time it would normally take you to get sunburnt, with face, arms, and as much of your legs exposed, and doing this every day. In summer, avoid the 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. time frame so that you avoid the skin cancer risk. Now, this is okay for most of Australia throughout the year, but if you get below the latitude of the Greater Sydney area, it will be very unlikely that you will make sufficient vitamin D from the sunlight through the winter months. If you are not able to get enough sunlight or you live in the lower latitudes of Australia, supplementation is recommended. Don't forget too that sunlight is also very successful at destroying a lot of infectious pathogens on surfaces. It is a great sterilizer. As you increase air exchange through ventilation, the infection rate and severity across individuals will decrease. In the 1918 influenza pandemic, a tent hospital, which was set up because there was no room left in the hospital building, had lots of accidental ventilation and therefore have much better outcomes and survival rates than the crowded, poorly ventilated nearby hospitals. Ventilation is particularly important in your own home, perhaps even more important than sterilizing all your surfaces. Ensure that you have good air exchange. Open your windows to allow fresh air in, and this will help prevent the spread of the viruses from airborne particles. Another way to ensure good ventilation is breathing through your nose. It is much better at humidifying the air that goes into your lungs. Viruses, generally speaking, do not like this humidity. Good hygiene is always helpful in preventing infections. Despite the fact that many viruses and infectious diseases are spread via the air, about 80% are also transmitted by touch. Very few can get through the skin, so it's important to avoid touching the places where it can get into your body: the nose, the eyes, and the mouth, particularly in public places. Finally, make sure you sanitize your hands regularly and also the surfaces you have contact with. A solution of about 60 to 80% alcohol will kill nearly all germs that cause infectious diseases. There are definite links between stress and immune function, with excessive and prolonged stress severely impairing your immunity. It's a whole talk in itself, but suffice to say, if you have excessive stress or mental illness such as anxiety or depression, it's important to manage these with stress management strategies or even some professional help. Now, we know that heat can enhance the innate immune response, so there are some ways that we can help this along even when we don't have a fever, and that is by using hydrotherapy. Research has shown that even healthy individuals taking thermal baths between 38 to 39 degrees Celsius were able to significantly stimulate a variety of immune cells and factors. Interestingly, if this was followed by a short exposure to cold temperatures, it enhanced the immunity further. So how can you implement this at home? It's with a contrast shower. 5 minutes hot, 1 minute cold. 3 minutes hot, 1 minute cold. 3 minutes hot, 1 minute cold. Making the water as hot as you can tolerate it by not burning yourself, and on the coldest setting for the cold portion. Try to do this at least 2 to 3 times each week. This is not advisable if you are particularly frail or have any heart rhythm issues. Another wonderful way to get some hydrotherapy is taking an Epsom salt bath. Not only do you get the benefit on the immune system from the warm water, but the Epsom salt is soothing to all those aches and pains that can come with a viral illness. There are some wonderful herbs that can help enhance our immune system and help us combat infections. So let's take a look at some of those options. Astragalus. This is a really deep immune enhancer and a major leader of herbs for immunity. It stimulates a number of aspects of the immune system with increased white blood cells, phagocytes, macrophages, IgG and IgM antibodies, and enhances natural killer cell activity. It can be used in the treatment of colds and flus, but it plays a more important role in the prevention of these for those who are susceptible, particularly reducing the frequency and severity of viruses. It has also been used in some parts of the world as an aid in cancer management alongside mainstream treatments and does improve cancer survival time. The dose is 2 to 6 grams of the dried root daily. Andrographis, this is a strong bitter herb that increases the immune lymphocytes, natural killer cells, and phagocyte activity. It has shown broad-spectrum antiviral activity against influenza, hepatitis, cold sore viruses, wart viruses, and even SARS-CoV-2. You would use the above ground or aerial parts of this plant at a dose of 2 to 6 grams each day. And this one is definitely not one to use in pregnancy. Elderflowers. These have been shown to directly inhibit the virus entry and replication in the immune system. And it also enhances the efficiency of the immune response to the virus. It also helps to reduce the congestion and coughs in respiratory tract infections. It can also be used as a throat gargle for pharyngitis and tonsillitis. The dose is 1 to 3 grams of the dried flowers daily. Echinacea has been extensively studied, and its most important action is to stimulate the innate immune system again in a number of ways. It is more superficial than the astragalus, but it works quickly. It is very useful in colds, flus, and a variety of respiratory tract infections such as tonsillitis and pharyngitis as both treatment and prevention. It is also useful in some skin infections such as abscesses and boils. The dose is 1 to 3 grams of the dried root daily. Garlic, the age-old, often culinary bulb, has some wonderful healing properties. It has quite potent antiviral, antibacterial, antifungal, and also some antiparasite properties, but it does not harm beneficial bacteria in the gut. Most frequently, we use it to treat colds, flus, bronchitis, and nasal congestion. A diet rich in garlic also reduces your risk of cancer. It tends to lose most of its medicinal benefits if crushed or heated for too long. So use it dried, which is either freeze-dried or below 65 degrees Celsius at 2 to 4 grams daily, or 1 to 4 fresh cloves of garlic daily if having socially free periods of time. Thyme is a garden favourite and can be used in a lot of different ways. It is a great antiseptic with antiviral, antibacterial, and antifungal properties. It is very useful in respiratory tract infections such as colds, flus, bronchitis, and congestion in the respiratory tract. It is particularly good when there is a lot of coughing involved. In fact, thyme is great to use as a throat gargle for coughs and sore throats, or even as a mouthwash for gum infections. The dose of thyme leaf is 2 to 3 grams per day. There has been some decent research on nigella seeds. They are antiviral and anti-inflammatory. They help the immune response to COVID-19 and can even help your lungs to heal as well. It's been shown to improve your recovery time from mild COVID-19 infections. The dose is 500 milligrams of the seed oil twice a day. As a physician, I'd be very remiss if I did not include the most important but often neglected aspect of our health, spirituality. God is the greatest of all physicians, and as our Creator, there is nothing in our physiology that He does not understand or know how to heal. Having an active spiritual life has been shown to boost our immune system. Therefore, I prescribe daily Bible reading and prayer with your Maker every day. The final point to consider is getting prepared for another possible epidemic, which is a local outbreak, or a pandemic, which is a much wider global or multinational infectious disease spread. The recommendation is to get a 2 to 3 week supply of over-the-counter simple medications and non-perishable items. All this sort of information you can easily look up online. But let me share with you some natural remedies to include in your natural medicine cabinet to help in these situations. This is your natural first aid kit for the immune system. Some of these we have already discussed, but there are a few additions here that I will explain. Get some Hydralyte, either in liquid, ice block or dissolvable tablet form, and this will help with those infections that cause vomiting and diarrhea. Vitamin C tablets or powder and zinc vitamins to give your immune system a boost. Immune boosting herbs include the garlic, the thyme, echinacea and elderflowers. The thyme can also be used to make into a tea, cooled and used to help settle the cough. White willow bark is great as a tea to help with fever, aches and pains, and a natural alternative to using ibuprofen. But do not use this in children or those with a salicylate allergy. Marshmallow root or slippery elm powder is great as a soother after a gastrointestinal infection. Eucalyptus essential oil is good to have on hand to put into a diffuser or even soaked onto a cloth and laying it near your head for colds and flus, or even in some boiling water and breathing in the steam. If you want to use it as a chest rub, put a couple of drops onto a large teaspoon of olive oil and rub it onto the chest. Just don't use it with infants under the age of 2 years old. And finally, don't forget those Epsom salts for the bath. So here is your healthy immune system prescription. Get your daily dose of exercise, half an hour each day. Adopt a healthy whole food plant-based diet with lots of immune boosting properties. Watch your weight. Drink plenty of fresh water. Get a good night's rest, going to bed early. Get your daily dose of sunlight. Keep your home and workplace well ventilated. Practice good hygiene, especially in public venues. Manage your stress. Include hydrotherapy contrast showers each week and Epsom salt baths for the aches and pains when you are unwell. Grow some garlic and thyme and keep some elderflowers and echinacea on hand as well. Foster your spirituality and include God in your health plan. And make some practical preparations for any future infectious disease outbreaks. If you implement as many of these measures as you can into your lifestyle, you will significantly enhance your immune health. Remember, your health choices will change your life, so blessings to you and your health.